gonna read and we're gonna talk. We're gonna learn and it's gonna rock. We're gonna answer 3 questions, it's a walk in the park. It's Mr. Clark's Corner, now here's Mr. Clark.
Hi, welcome to Mr. Clark's Corner. I want to tell you a story about 2 peanuts. They were walking down the sidewalk the other day, and one was assaulted. That's the punchline. If you didn't like that joke, let me give you one more. What did Santa Claus say when he threw salt on the kids? Seasoned greetings. That's enough salt jokes, but we're going to be talking about salt today. And we think of salt as a seasoning, something that we put on foods to make them taste better, or sometimes we cook with them. But that's a lot of what we think of salt as today. But in history, that's just not true. Salt was used for several different things. Actually, can you tell me, what do you see this as? To me, this is a phone. But it's so much more than that, right? I can make phone calls, but I can also surf the web. I can pull up my calendar. I can play games. It's more than just a phone. It has lots of different purposes. Or this is one of my favorite pieces. This is a gold Cadillac decoration. It's a car, an old Cadillac, but it's an antique, and what its other purpose is it's a bottle that held aftershave. And so it's a really cool piece, but it's more than just a decoration. It has multiple purposes. It has more than one function, and that's how salt was historically. I mean, salt's used for several different things. Salt was very valuable a long time ago. In fact, people used to get paid, instead of being paid in money, people could be paid in salt. In fact, that's where the word salary comes from. Salary means how much money we make per year. The word salary comes from salt because people were paid in salt. In fact, the word salvation comes from salt too. To be saved or to be preserved, that comes from the word salt. And so salt has lots of different functions. People would rub salt on babies when they were born. People would use salt at sacrifices to God. People would use salt mostly as a preservative, meaning that salt kept things fresh. Before there were refrigerators or freezers, people would use salt, and they would put it especially on their meats to keep it fresh and safe to eat. See, salt was really important a long time ago. It wasn't just used as a seasoning to put on food. Salt was used for several different reasons. And we're going to talk a little bit about salt today when we read in 2 Kings, when we talk about Elisha. So let's go ahead and turn our Bibles to 2 Kings chapter 2. Remember last week we talked about Elisha and Elijah. Elijah went to heaven in a chariot of fire, and Elisha got Elijah's power, and he parted the Jordan River, and now he's going back to the city of Jericho, and there's a problem there. The water is bad. It's bitter, and it's making people sick and even making people die. So let's read about what happens here. The men of Jericho spoke to Elisha. "Look," they said, "this town has a good location. You can see that for yourself. But the spring of water here is bad, so the land doesn't produce anything." "Bring me a new bowl," Elisha said. "Put some salt in it." So they brought it to him. Then he went out to the spring, and he threw the salt into the spring. He told them, "The Lord says, I have made this water pure again. It will never cause death again. It will never keep the land from producing crops again. The water has stayed pure to this very day because that's what Elisha had said would happen." So Elisha could have just said, "Oh, the water's bad? Well, God says the water's going to be good now." He didn't have to throw salt into it, but Elisha asked for salt. And when he threw the salt in, the people recognized, first of all, salt is valuable, right? People were paid in salt at times. So salt was valuable, it was important. And it kept things fresh. Elisha made the water fresh again. He put salt into the water to make it fresh again. No, the salt didn't heal the water. God's power healed the water. But Elisha used salt to help the people understand. Salt is really cool. It's used over 30 times in the Bible. And whenever you read about salt in the Bible, I want you to think of these things that we talked about today. The salt isn't just used as something to help our food taste better. It's used in so many different ways. Well, that was our code word sound, and our code word of the day is, of course, pepper. Because what goes with salt? Pepper. P-E-P-P-E-R, pepper. Make sure and write that down on a code word card. Drop it in the mailbox outside of my office on Sunday. Pepper is our code word for the day. But that's also going to bring us to our 3 questions. Question number 1. Why do you think Elisha used salt to heal the water? Question number 2. Can you think of another time in the Bible where salt was used? Question number 3. Matthew tells us to be the salt of the earth. What does that mean? That's going to do it. I'm Mr. Clark. This is my corner. Try to eat something a little bit salty today to remind you of salt in the Bible. Adios, amigos.
Okay, we read, alright, we talked. Oh, yes, we learned, and you know we rocked. We even answered 3 questions, man, what a fun day. It's Mr. Clark's Corner, I'll see you on Sunday.